Okay, here's my list of the top 5 all-time Fire Emblem antagonists. Not necessarily main antagonists. Number 5, we gotta have my girl Ishtar. I think she low-key carried Gen 2, writing-wise for parts of it, along with Trevant, who we're gonna see later, and another guy we're gonna see later. But not only did she kind of have this like emotional sort of relationship with a lot of different characters in our cast through the whole Frigga family, but also she was just a complete menace on the battlefield, rivaling the power of like the final boss in chapter 10, pulling him and having a whole warning just for her in chapter 8. Like she was a true menace. And I'm not sure if there's been like a side villain who's been like hyped up that much in Fire Emblem, I'm not gonna lie. Outside of maybe Reinhardt in FE5. Then we got Trevant, also from Fire Emblem 4, Genealogy of the Holy War, and Fire Emblem 5, 32776. I think his whole rivalry with Quan, the father of Leaf, was like really interesting. He played a really emotional role in chapter 5 of that game with the whole massacre. Lowkey, one of the most like successful side antagonists in Fire Emblem history. And then spoiler alert, like raising Altena alongside Arion and his sort of change over time, almost as fascinating as someone who's going to be popping up soon. Lowkey arguably could go even higher on this list. Number 3, we got Leon. Now, his different sides of his personality and the extent to which he's possessed by the Demon King were interesting. I think the most interesting thing about him is like his fall from grace. This is not a character who's like completely blameless and just got possessed, right? It's really more complex than that. But at the same time, I feel like the story can sometimes feel a bit wishy-washy with this character. And I feel like he really hijacks the entire story. Like, I feel like it really becomes the Leon show to the detriment of, like, literally everyone else. Ultimately, like, the Demon King possessing him is not really that interesting, and that kind of hurts his character as well because they're so entwined. Number 2, I have enemy Edelgard. She would be number 1 really easily. I feel like the only issue with her is that the writing just kind of, like, around her can be a bit messy. Like, if they just, like, clarified and cleared up some of her motivations a bit more, it would be better. Some of her dialogue can sometimes feel like a bit of like double speak where it's like the writers just want her to say stuff that doesn't really make sense, like in that conversation with Dimitri. And some of her issues seem a bit misplaced, but still overall great antagonist, one of the most emotional to fight, probably the most emotional fight in the entire history of Fire Emblem, easily. And the woman who like really gets the whole story going. Honorable mention Mustafa for just being such a goat despite being a one chapter boss. Honorable mention to Reinhardt as well. And to honorable mention to Ray as well. And Berkut mostly for the voice acting, I'm not gonna lie. But number 1, of course, has got to be Arvis. Nobody has accomplished what this man has accomplished. Spoiler, killing the main character and most of the entire cast, taking over the continent. Like, this is the GOAT.